Hello, welcome to Pending. This episode, I was with Jack Flynn from the band Floodhounds after the release of their new single, Psychosemantics. We spoke about the new track, Jack's time at school, and some of the band's experiences. I hope you enjoy the episode. So, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no worries.
Do you want to introduce yourself, tell people a bit about you?
Cool. Yeah, my name's Jack. I play guitar and I sing in a Sheffield-based band called Floodhounds. Along with Lauren on bass and Anna on drums, and we make sort of punky, catchy indie rock, sort of heavy-ish, but it's also got melodies to it, but it sort of revolves around big riffs and chaotic breakdowns and just good times, basically.
I do think there's a bit in there for everyone, to be fair.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. We always start with sort of just to chat about something random, and I choose a topic every week just to, I don't know, get us kind of flowing and learn new things. So I did school this week, so just to kind of see what we like in school.
I remember being proper, like, staring out the window, never, I was sort of not really paying attention to anything ever, is my memory of it. And I remember thinking I was always getting told off for like just not engaging with anything, and then I'd always do okay in the end because I was like, nah, I'll just read it later. I'll just do it on my own time. So like I think I wasn't really like a sporty kid, even though I loved doing sports, but they don't do, I liked things like, you know, skateboarding and stuff. So there was no skateboarding in PE. So I was crap at rugby and football. But I think, yeah, once year 9, got my guitar, that was pretty much me. That was my personality for the rest of school, I think, just the guitar guy.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of musicians say like in school they couldn't concentrate and it just wasn't for them. Is music kind of, did you learn that from school or?
No, that school was terrible for music, actually. Like, I remember the music teacher had a real thing about guitars not being like proper instruments, but then, mad, innit? And then when we actually, everyone chose music for their GCSEs, there was no one doing anything but other than a guitar. There was there was no violin players, or there was one guy that could play piano, and I think everyone else was just like guitar, and then. So he had a tough time. So like, I didn't really learn much from school, if I'm honest, for music. But I did have a really good guitar teacher when I was a teenager. And he was just like this mad, he looked a bit like Russell Brand, was how I remember him. He was just sort of this crazy long-haired, shaggy sort of hippie dude. And he was left-handed like me as well. So he would just lend me his like rare Gibson Les Paul for like years. Wow. And he was really sound, and then I sort of lost touch with him after I left home, moved up to Sheffield. So I sort of I haven't seen him since, because he's one of those weird guys who's not on Facebook or Instagram, so you've got no idea what he's up to, but I'm sure he's out there shredding somewhere.
Is there any classes that you did like and you got really involved in?
I liked art. I liked English. I think I was okay at like, you know, maths and physics and stuff, like, but I can't say I enjoyed it. I think I remember French was all right, but then I think French was the only teacher where you had like a proper teacher who was like, I don't know, you felt like he actually cared, and he was more like you know, like the Dead Poet Society vibe, where he was a bit more like, I've got to inspire these kids somehow, whereas like other teachers are like, okay, learn the equations, crack on.
Yeah.
And but you know, having said that, I had an alright time at school. I think I had a better time at sixth form. I remember that being like college and sixth form much more fun. You know, just people telling you what to do less, and you just sort of getting on with it.
Did you do anything after sixth form? Did you go to uni or?
Yeah, I went to Sheffield, and I studied architecture for some bonkers reason, clearly don't do it anymore. So it was a great choice, but like that was because it was arty. You could, you know, it was like drawing and model making, and it was kind of like because it was dead creative, but it was also something where, like, when everyone's telling you what you need to do, and at 18 they're like, you got to choose your life, you got to do that. Everyone's like, yeah, architecture sounds like a sensible thing. And then I did it and I was like, this is rubbish. I hate this.
I think sometimes, because I did the same for my first year of uni, I did marketing, because I feel like you can be afraid to just kind of go in for something creative, and where not many people make it, it's definitely worth it. Is there anything you miss about school now?
Oh, there must be loads. I miss like only caring about pointless things, where you just like, as if like my big problem that day was whether I had enough sweets for the train, stuff like that. I miss like it was fun just mucking about. That was like, you had to not go too far or it'd make your life worse, but it was like most days were like, how am I going to have a laugh today, It was quite fun in that sense, but yeah. Would
you say, because obviously you said you didn't concentrate much and things like that, but do you think you had like a reputation, kind of skiving lessons, that kind of thing, or were you quite good generally?
I think I was all right. Like I wasn't like a naughty kid. It was more just like teachers would be like, he's not paying attention, or he's not like he could do more, and I'm like, it'll be fine. And I think I wasn't like I think teachers would have said like, yeah, he's a nice kid. He's just not paying attention. But like, I think I knew that it would be all right in the end. So it was,
Exactly. And you've got a degree and a band now, so realistically you did well. So. We'll move on to the music stuff. How did you and the band sort of get together? How did that all come about?
So this band's been going for years, like ages, but it's had so many different lineups. I think the first lineup was me and these three other lads, and how did I even meet them? I can't remember. I think Scott was the photographer. Maybe I met him through that. But then he knew these other people. We got together, did that for a couple of years. They left, so then it was me and Reese. And then I met Loz, the current drummer, on a night out in Leeds, because her friends she'd met a load of people from Sheffield doing Glastonbury litter picking. And then when Loz and her mates from Derby moved to Sheffield, they like hooked up with those people who happened to be my friends from Sheffield. So there was like a friend of a friend situation. And then I needed, because I'd written all these songs with the old lineup, I was like, we gotta record them. So maybe everyone's like, Loz is a drummer. I was like, can she session for it? She can just do these recordings. And so we sort of went to a practice room, and I think we did loads of stuff where we didn't even have a bass player. It was just the guitar and the drums, and she was like, this song doesn't sound very good. I was like, trust me, when there's other instruments, when the bass is there, when we do all this, it'll make sense. And then when we finally recorded, she was like, now I get this song.
Come together.
And then, so she was only supposed to session for a bit, and then I just kept asking her to do more stuff. And then, how many years is it now? Like 7 years later, she's still in the band.
That's amazing.
And then Reese left, and then we got Joel in, and then we had a real good run with Joel. He was great, but then he left, and then he joined another band, and so it was too busy to try and juggle two bands at once. And then we got Anna in, who Loz played in another band with Anna called Addictive Philosophy. They're like a ska punk band in Derby, and again we just needed like, Anna, can you just help us out for just like one or two gigs? And then within like a couple of months we were like, so you're in the band now. That's pretty much official. And then that's where we are now. So like, it's all friend of a friend situation is how we all met.
I think that's quite a nice way, instead of like, putting a Facebook advert out there, that kind of thing. Like, it's a nice, wholesome way.
Yeah. Because you never know who you're going to get when you do that.
True, yeah.
We did try that for a few bass players like years ago, and we had some mad auditions where this one guy turned up, and he turned up with his bass in a Tesco carrier bag, right? We were like, okay, that's a bad sign. Yeah. And he didn't have a strap, so he just sat on the floor cross-legged for the whole practice, which was fine, but it was weird. And then he had like a massive hole in his trousers, so he was sat cross-legged, and I was like, this just come on,
There's
man.
too many things at that point, too many red flags.
Exactly.
But for you personally, was it when you learnt guitar back in school with your guitar teacher that sparked that love of music, or was it before then? Or?
I think my parents are well into music, so my dad's obsessed. He's got like loads of old records of people I've never heard of, and so there's always music around, always music in cars. I think it was good, like I've got a friend who's just had a kid, and they gave me a lift somewhere, and the kid was in the back, and they put all this like wheels on the bus go round and all that sort of music, and I was like, oh god, I'm so glad my mum and dad didn't do that. They just put the Beatles on instead, So I think I probably got it from there. And then I remember wanting a guitar for years, like since primary school, like maybe even like year 4. I was like, I want a guitar. And I think I was on about it for maybe a solid 3 or 4 years. 'Cause I think I got one in year 8, I think. Finally got like a cheap Yamaha Pacifica. And then, but I was like, it's been years of waiting for this moment here. I remember it was like someone had handed me Excalibur, and I was like, yes, everything's changed now. It's mad, actually. It's such a huge part of my life. I reckon everyone in the band is the same thing. Like Loz, she can't go a day without playing drums. Really? And she'll be like, I just need to hit something. And I'm the same with guitar.
That's amazing though, because I don't know, I feel like when something's a passion and then you also kind of do it for work, sometimes that can, I don't know, blur the line between the enjoyment and doing it.
Definitely. Like especially like the level that we're at is so assisted, like everything we do DIY. So like we do our own album artwork, we do our own music videos, our own we don't have a PR team or any so we're just, everything's done by ourselves, and that does wear you down. That's just exhausting, and because you get so much rejection, because you're we put this tune out a few weeks ago, and I must have sent 300 emails to different radio stations or blogs, and you're getting a reply to less than 10%. So it's I don't get enough time to actually play the music because we're all too busy trying to market the music. So that's when when the lines get blurred and you forget why you're doing it, and you're like, I've got to remember I actually like this. Got to try not to ruin it by getting sucked into the pressure for social media content all the time,
But that is amazing. I think it's something to be proud of, just to keep kind of persevering and keep doing it. So
cheers. Don't know what else to do.
Yeah, true. But you said you sent so many emails trying to get it on radios. I did see you were on BBC Introducing.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
Well, that's great. I mean, BBC Introducing is probably the best thing for an unsigned or a band that hasn't paid for a radio plugger. It's one of the only ways you can get on a proper BBC national radio station. Whereas so it's great, and Christian Carlisle's the presenter, and he's been doing that for years. He's been doing that even longer than we've been a band, which is a long time. And he's always been properly supportive, and every time we get a track out, we always send it to him, and he always plays it, and he always says something really nice. So that is good. And I think this one, he was the best reaction he's given, which is nice, because he's always nice. So that felt great. And and apparently they're going to cut a lot of stuff for BBC Introducing, the fun. I don't know what the ins and outs of it is, but if that does happen, that will be pretty devastating, I think, for people like us.
Because I was going to ask, actually, coming from someone who's been on there and knows how important it is, do you think a radio show like that, it does make it a lot of difference to smaller bands, and it's important to have that kind of platform?
Massively. And because all you have to do for them is you just go on the BBC website, put your track in, and then it's there, and then your local show plays it, and if it's really good, your local show sends it to Six Music or Radio 1, and like you just can't, if that channel disappeared, then the only way to get on Radio 1 is to hire a radio plugger for £1,000, and it's like £1,000 that's not even a guarantee. It's like £1,000 that they'll ask.
Yeah.
And so like if BBC Introducing goes, you're just pricing out all the bands that can't afford it, basically, or the bands that don't have financial backing or funding. So yeah, that would be terrible if it goes. But I think it is. I think they've announced it. I don't know. I think they're scaling it down. Maybe it's not gone. It's just reduced.
I think they put something out about like how it's changing. So I think it will still be a thing, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
Yeah, how good it will be. But I saw you've done a few festivals and you have supported a few other acts. How was that kind of whole experience?
It's great. Like the festivals are fun. Like we haven't done as many as I want to. Like my dream is to just be like every weekend 3 festivals like every day.
Yeah.
But they're really competitive as well, so it's really hard to get your foot in the door. And we've done a few good ones like Isle of Wight and Tramlines and stuff. And that was they're great because like you only have to do half an hour of work as you just do and then you get a free ticket to enjoy the festival and you just have a good laugh basically. And like supporting bigger bands is, I think, one of the best things you can do, because it's great to do like a hometown headline where you've got fans to see you. That's wicked, but it's kind of exciting to play to new people because you know that's how you're gonna grow. So if you do land a slot with like a similar band that's a bit bigger than you, that's always dead exciting because you're like, oh yes, okay, got some new ears, let's see what they reckon.
Yeah. And there's definitely been so many bands I listen to now and go and see because I've seen them as a support act at a festival. So yeah, that's definitely, it must be amazing as well to sort of have, I feel like you get a bigger reach with like at a festival. Yeah. That would make me nervous as well, actually, thinking about it. Yeah,
we've done some where we're like, we don't expect much from it, and it turns out to be a massive tent and a really full. And then we've done some where we're like, this is the set, this is the big set, and then it rains and everyone goes indoors, and we're like, no.
God, yeah.
Like that's the other thing with if you're on an outdoor stage, it better be sunny when you're playing, or everyone's going to be in the dance tent.
Yeah, which in England, not your best.
Pretty common, yeah.
Do you have like, I mean, maybe the festival is kind of one of them, or is there a moment specifically or something you've done as a band that you are most proud of?
Well, we went to Paris to play. We've been to Paris twice, and that was pretty amazing. And I don't think we're going to be able to do that again because we did that before Brexit. So we just about made it work. Like we could take our equipment on the coach. Like we didn't have to take too much, so we could hire the venue in Paris. They had house gear, so we could just bring guitars. And then that was just a fucking great, exciting few days because we're like riding around on scooters in Paris, just being like, we're in Paris, like this is mad. And then the gigs were amazing as well because it would have been depressing if the gigs were rubbish, but luckily they were great. So we're pretty proud of that. And but now I think we looked into going back, and I think getting your equipment over, you have to pay special fees and there's loads more forms to fill out, and it just suddenly becomes not an option because we weren't, and you can't bring merch. You have to do a special form to sell merch, and it's all like for the money that we'd get to do it, it's just not worth it.
Yeah. At least you did it once. It was kind of
exactly.
possible,
Yeah, we did it once. Yeah, it was good fun as well.
With the song process and the writing, is that something you will kind of take responsibility for? Do you do it together, or does someone like bring an idea?
Well, everyone definitely has an influence on it, but I think it'll start. I'll have like chords, riffs, melody, or something. I don't do lyrics till the very end, but I'll have like the bones of something, and then we'll go to practice, and then usually I'll play a bit and I'll say to Lauren like, do something like da 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 da, and like do some air drumming, and then she looks at me like I'm a complete fool and goes, I think what you mean is this, and then she plays it perfectly, and I go, yes, that's what I mean, and then usually she'll come up with something else to try and make it even better than how I was picturing it. And then Anna's the same with the bass. Like, don't often tell her what to play. She'll like come up with a bass line that suits whatever we're doing. But when we're doing like with riffs, you just tend to play the same thing. You go like, this is the riff, and then when we after like the melody of the riff's over, and like, now go forth and do what you're gonna do, and then that's pretty much it. And then a surprising amount happens in the studio when we record it. So like, we'll play it live for like as much as we can. I don't know, it varies actually how long we play it live for. But then when we get to the studio, producer will be like, have you thought about doing it like this? And we'll go, no, but that's way better. Why didn't we always do it like that? And then it will come out a little bit better when that comes out.
That's really cool. I find it quite it's hard to find people that you can be like, I need it, this is my vision, but I don't know how to tell you that, and they just get it. Yeah. I think that's really cool that people can like bounce off each other like that and make something so good together. It
is really, really nice, because played in other bands where that's just not the case, and it's good when Loz particularly, I think it's because we've been playing for years, she just knows that like I actually only ever ask for the same thing, which is just like, make it loud and mad, and then she's like, yeah, okay, the usual then. Yeah.
Is there sort of, what's the big dream? Like, what's something you want to achieve?
Well, one thing that would be like the ultimate goal for us, because we actually met via like Glastonbury litter picking things, and like Loz does it every year. I don't think Anna likes festivals, to be honest, but I've done it a few times, and litter picking is hard. Like, you get up at 5 a.m. and you work till midday, and then you go out and watch bands and rave away until 3, and then you wake up at 5 again for your shift. So the dream would be to get a slot at Glastonbury so we can sack off the litter picking and just actually go and enjoy it, and
get a bit of sleep as well.
Exactly, yeah. And like, it's mad because Glastonbury has like 1,000 bands, so you think like, oh, surely we can find a way in one of their stages, but it's hard. Like, it's locked down. Like, it's the most, obviously everyone wants Glastonbury, so it's competitive.
But definitely possible, at least.
You'd like to I mean, I've seen some rubbish bands at Glastonbury, so you'd like to think somehow there's a way in. I think it's the classic, it's like who you know. We just have to find out who runs the car park stage and just sneak our way in there,
Yeah, I think that is a lot of the industry, music, film, kind of any kind of creative. Yeah. It is so like not what you know, who you know kind of vibe. But I feel, luckily now, I don't know, I think there are ways around it.
Yeah, I think you can, if you don't know anyone, you can work on getting to know people. Yeah. Like getting out and about. I think a lot of the good stuff that happens for us is because we were in the right place at the right time, because we went out to, well, what's a good example? Like one of my favourite bands, Kid Capici, they were playing in Torquay, and then we went to that gig and then got chatting to them and just got on quite well, and then managed to get a support slot with them in Nottingham off the back of meeting them. And it was a case of, if we'd just sent an email we wouldn't have got it, but so it was because we met them, but we only met them because we went out of our way to go to Torquay to try it. Like, we didn't go there for that reason, we just went for a laugh, just for a good gig. But it just, when we were in the bar afterwards, we're like, hey, that's what's his name from Kid Capici, and then had a really good chat, and then it works. So like, I think the lesson we've taken from that is we're not going to get anything done sat at home, so we try and get out and about and talk to people and go to gigs, and because you just never know who you're going to meet. Yeah,
very true. I think it's the same for me, to be honest, or any kind of industry. But I was going to ask about your photography as well, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
I think that is such a talent to have. Like,
cheers.
Kind of got a bit of creative talent in every aspect as well, because you said you edit videos and that kind of thing as well. But with the photography, is that something you always wanted to do as well, or just happened?
that just happened because I think my mate, because I couldn't afford a camera because they're so expensive, so it just never was even an option. So then I think my mate had a really cheap Nikon, like the D3100, which I think is like the lowest possible Nikon you can get. And then he took it somewhere, and I was like, "Here's a go at that." And then he was like, "Oh, you can hang on to it if you want." And I was like, "You serious?" And so I just borrowed it for like 2 years, and then took it to gigs. We were playing, and I'd take a photo of the other band, and I'd be like, "Well, that's crap." And then I'd like try and make it better. And I think because it was hard, because like you get a photo on your phone and it comes out great, or if the phones are just they often do a better job than a camera if you don't know how to use it. I got annoyed. I was like, this needs to be better. So I spent a long time trying to get better, and then started doing more gigs, and then started thinking, this is actually really fun and really satisfying. Like, I think compared to music, it's almost like instant gratification, because music, we've got to write a song, and then we've got to rehearse it, and then we've got to record it, and then we've got to release it, whereas this is like click, bang, edit it, and go, oh wow, I've done it, it's straight away. And then once I found out how easy it was to shoot like bigger bands, like all you have to do is just email them, and they most of the time just say yes. Really? So I was like, this is wicked, got to do more of this. And then I just started doing loads.
Do you think because you have that passion for music as well, that's why you kind of did it, like you photograph a lot of bands and things like that?
Yeah, definitely, because I want to do other stuff, but all I do is bands. Like, I keep meaning to like do, I don't know, portraits or something a bit more creative, but bands are just like the easy thing to do. And because having been the band and had bad photos taken of us and have good photos taken of us, I feel like that helps when you know what they want, because you think, what are they? The photos that bands always want is they want a photo from the back of the room to show how busy it is, because they just want to show people that, look, people were at our gig, here's proof. And then they want like the action shots, and they don't want, like, I've had loads of photos where there's just like a massive empty space between the crowd and the band, and someone's like photographed that, and you're like, cut that, don't show that, we've got to hide that, we've got to make it look better than it was, not worse.
Yeah, exactly.
So it does help to have a bit of background in it.
Yeah, I guess you've seen it from both sides. That's quite cool. Is there someone like that you have always wanted to take pictures of, and you've now done it? Is there like a best person?
There's a couple, like Frank Carter. He's like a huge musical influence for us, and his gigs are mental. Like, I don't know, he's just bouncing off the walls like a tornado, and he's always, if there's a roof on the venue, he'll be moonwalking it upside down, carried by people. It's just chaos. And seen him a few times, and I was like, I've got to get a photo pass with Frank. I've got to do it. And then I managed to do a festival where he was playing, so I was like, yes, I finally did it, and that was great. And then the only downside was, because it was a festival, I had a big old long lens, because normally they're miles away, and then the first thing he does is he runs right up to my face, and I'm like, shit, my lens is too big, so all I've got is just like a zoomed in photo of his eye, and I'm like, no, stand back, I didn't bring the right lens for this.
Yeah, the one time.
Exactly.
You don't.
So I learned something there.
Is it hard? Because I know myself, and when I'm at a gig and I'm hearing someone especially that I love, I won't be standing still. Like, I'll be all over the place. So is it hard when you've got a camera and like expensive equipment, and also need a still shot, to not sort of be all over the place dancing about? Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes there's bits where if there's like a really good bit, like I think it was Tiger Cub. There was just a bit where there's one of the riffs drops, and it's so good that you can't help but go, yeah, like that, and then you forget you're holding a camera, so what's the point of, like, you can't headbang if you're going to hold a camera. And then so I do that all the time, actually, where I'm headbanging, like, not hard, but just like, nodding my head, and then I have to go, don't do that, that's like, you're missing all these I think I'm getting all these shots, but I'm just getting a blur. So it does happen, but the good ones are where, because you only get 3 songs, that's the rule generally for some reason. I don't know why. I think it's because they don't want my theory is people start to look really sweaty after 3 songs. So they're like, get them a good 3 songs and then you have to go away. But so that's good because you just snap like a madman, and then you just enjoy the gig because you can't take any more. So those ones are nice.
That's actually really cool. I didn't know that 3-song rule, but then you can be in the moment and it's fine. Because even I was at a Loyal Corner gig this week.
Oh, nice.
And it was amazing, and I tried to get a couple of pictures for, you know, the memories. Looked back after the gig, you can't see anything. I was literally, I think I dropped my phone at one point. I was just that, like, into it. So yeah, I can't.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be any good.
Especially if the lights are like blasting your phone and they're just a silhouette. It's hard.
100%. Well, if you don't mind, we can do the 3-picture.
Sure.
Because I think I always do it just because I think it brings out some fun stories.
Yeah.
So have you?
Yeah, I've got them on my phone. Yeah. This photo is from a gig. This is before Anna and Joel. To be fair, this is back in the Reese days. How do I turn auto rotate off? So this one, there's a lot going on here. This is the rocking chair, which then turned into Cafe Totem.
Yeah.
And what's basically, Loz went to, I think she went to a rave and saw these people wearing these like glowing cardboard box head things, and these eyes are like spinning round, and it was mental. And she was just like, "This looks fun. Why don't we do this at a gig?" And then we ended up doing a music video. And then this is my housemate dressed in like, I don't know, some weird. It was really a thing. Like, we basically filmed a music video where this, I think the story, if you want to call it that, is like this geezer was trying to hunt down and kill the band, and we were like, when he got you ended up turning into one of these box head things. But so we were like, let's get some gig footage, and we had a really good gig in Sheffield that weekend. So we were like, let's just get them on stage, and no one knew it was going to happen. So these 2 nutters just bowled on stage and like basically tried to chase each other around while we were playing the song, and it was so funny. Like, I was trying to sing and look cool because we're doing the music video, so I know it's all being taped, but I just couldn't stop laughing. And so then luckily Mal Witchelow, who's like one of the best photographers in Sheffield, he just happened to get like the perfect moment where they're like either side. So I thought, yeah, that's a fun memory.
That's brilliant. I love gigs like that as well, where people are just dressed up or something, I don't know, just something
unusual.
A bit crazy happens.
Yeah, we haven't done it since, actually. We kept thinking like, we should, because I've got them in those creepy heads just sat in my living room, just on a shelf, just like staring at us, and like I keep meaning to get them out, but then because it was from a video 2 bass players ago, I think the moment's passed. Maybe maybe way in the future you can do it and be like, if you know, like one of the first, auction them off as memorabilia or something.
True.
So the next photo, I think I'll go with this one. That's us 3, me, Loz and Anna, outside the Bodega in Nottingham.
Wow.
And I've kind of already told that story a bit, but that was when we supported Kid Capici, and it was, I guess I chose that photo because that was such a good gig. Like, it was, they'd sold it out obviously, and I don't know if you know them, they're just so good. Just like the perfect band. Like they make the sort of music that we wish we made, basically. And just big riffs, just angry vibes, but dead catchy, and just everyone just bouncing around like in absolute madness. And it was a huge one for us to get that gig, because we were like, that's a good support slot, and I know they're going to be huge. Like, I think the next gig on their recent tour, they're playing like I think I've got a photo here actually. Like, so that the Bodega, that's like 250 cap venue or something. Like, not huge. But then I saw them in London a few weeks ago, and that venue is absolutely massive. So it's like, this is how far they've come. They're playing places like this.
Oh my God.
So I was just so glad we got in there before they exploded, and then and that was all because went to Torquay, randomly saw them in a pub afterwards. My brother bought them a load of Jaeger bombs, and I think that sealed the deal.
To be fair, I could be very easily persuaded with Jaeger bombs.
Yeah.
But even the Bodega, that is such an iconic venue, to be fair. It's great. Like, playing there would have been cool.
Yeah.
And you've done the Leadmill, haven't you?
Like, not with Floodhounds. Me and Loz have another band called Rogue Siesta. We did the Leadmill in January. But no, actually, I tell a lie. We did the Leadmill in 2016, I think, supporting Fat White Family, and that was a mad gig as well. But yeah, that feels like so long ago. I could barely count it. But yeah, I love the Leadmill, and Fat White Family are everything you wish when you hear about their reputation.
Yeah.
Just, we went into their little dressing room. Like, we were sat upstairs in our room, and it was just very quiet. I think we had like one Carlsberg, and then we're just like, yeah, looking forward to the gig. It's going to be good. And then we were walking downstairs, and we just saw, like, through the crack of the door, through their dressing room, just like a scene from a film where, like, people just like shouting and throwing food at each other, and like people just on the floor. It looked like the cracks had opened to the door into a madhouse, and we were like, don't want to go in there. You know that bit in Peep Show where Mark and Jez and Hans go to a party, and Jeremy goes in and comes out and he goes, I want to go home. I don't want to stay in it. It was like that. It was great.
Just good to observe, not to go in that room.
We briefly went in after the show, and I felt like such a nerd. I don't know why. They were all just like legit rock and roll maniacs, and I'm there like, did you enjoy the show? Just didn't feel cool enough to be there. But
no, I feel that all the time.
Yeah. But yeah, Bodega's great. We've played there a few times, and they are dead nice. One of our favourites, actually, outside of Sheffield, I think.
That's quite cool. Do you have a third?
Oh yeah. What am I going to go for? I think the third photo is. I've got one that's a funnier photo and one that's got more of a story to it.
Okay, you can share both if you want. There's no limit.
I'll do the quick one. This is me and Lauren trying out swords in Kellam Island.
Yeah.
So if you need a sword, we know a good sword guy.
Brilliant. It's always useful.
That's at the warehouse next to Yellow Arch, which is where Arctic Monkeys used to practice.
Wow.
But yeah, the other photo I was going to share is this was taken like 20 minutes after our first gig with Anna, and that was the same day that lockdown ended. Do you remember like Freedom Weekend or whatever it was?
Yeah.
And that was at Tramlines 2021. Is that when it was? But it was like July 20th, 2021. So like been cooped up for 18 months, and then we had a new bass player. Played our first gig in ages, and the gig was really good. Like the Shakespeare proper rammed, just really good sound, and it was great to be back, I think. And we were like, yes, chapter 3 starts now.
Were you nervous when it first all opened again?
I was actually, yeah, because I think it was a combination of having played on live for ages, so it sort of felt like, oh god. Haven't had that adrenaline rush for a while, and then also the fact that because it was so busy, you're like, I'm going to get ill, I'm definitely going to catch it. It was funny though. I think we were all fine in the end, but
all worked out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was good fun.
I think that's sort of the end of my questions. Is there anything you want to? I mean, not that many people watch, but for anyone that is, do you want to promote anything?
Yes, definitely. We have. I don't know when this is coming out, but we've got a Sheffield headline gig on the 24th of March at Sydney and Matilda, which is such a good venue.
Yeah.
And we've got 3 really good bands supporting us, which are Caesar Did It, Sweet Beast and Harry Larkin. So that's going to be wicked. You can get tickets from floodhounds.com/gigs, and I think it's up there. And then we also just put a new single out called Psychosemantics about 2 weeks ago, I think. And that was yes, that's out now if anyone wants to stream it. That's the best thing we've done so far.
It's in my on repeat already.
Oh, cheers.
But yeah, I'll link everything.
Oh, great.
Well in like the show notes. But yeah, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks for the chat. It's good fun.
That's the episode. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a great chat and I'm a big fan of the band. If you want to follow Jack and the band, all the socials are in the show notes. So are the podcast socials. You can follow me at Pending the Podcast. You can also vote for the band to play at Tramlines this year, and that's on www.tramlines.org.uk/vote. Next episode is with Alex Francis, and that is out this Friday, the 21st. So thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.